Hey, what's up everybody? Thank you very much for watching. This is going to be a quick video talking about the god Bakasura and whether he is or is not good at the moment. He has been sitting in the B tier, maybe even the C tier for a very long time, and now you're seeing him in the Pro League, you're seeing him in rank play and casual play. Everyone's using him, and he seems to be doing very, very well. So that leaves us with the question, is Bakasura good? And in my opinion, he is very, very good. And I think while he wasn't underrated when he was in the C tier, the B tier in the past, last season, um, but there's been some key buffs recently, and the main one I want to talk about is the buff that just happened to his number 2 ability, his Eat Minion. That was a key buff, and I think it gave Bakasura a better placement in the current meta for a lot of reasons, and I want to go into that and talk about why this buff is so key to Bakasura succeeding, and this is the buff that happened to his 2 ability, Eat Minion, as I said. And what it is he can now eat a full boar in a boar camp instead of having to attack it and getting it to a certain health range in order for him to swallow it. So this means that he's going to get a lot more XP early, and he's also going to clear jungle camps at level 1 faster than any other jungler. This is very, very key because the meta is hyper early game focused right now. If you can get those camps cleared faster than the enemy team, you already have a strong advantage because you're going to get to the lane faster and you're going to be able to clear the lane much more effectively than the other team is. And if you do that, then that also means you can steal their camps. If you push the wave enough, you can steal their XP camps and their buffs. So there's just a big focus on the early game. And to me, you have hyper carries in the game. You have gods like Ao Kuang, Rom, Freya, all these gods. You could say Hu Yi is a hyper carry almost. These gods who are built to slowly build up throughout the game. Once they get their items online, they become this huge high damaging character. And then you have these hyper early game characters. Isis is probably the biggest one that I can think of. Shock is another one that's kind of like hyper early game focused. And Bakasura now, Thanatos is a great example as well. But Bakasura to me right now is probably the best early game character in the game. I think that could absolutely be said because of this buff. So he kind of was without a role for a long time. He didn't really have anything that he succeeded at. He was kind of an early game god in the past, but he struggled as far as getting out of team fights. Because he was basic attack focused, he really struggled getting in the team fight, getting his damage off, and then getting out. Because he relied on that. Whereas gods like Serket, even though she is a very close range assassin, she has a lot of close range abilities. She is able to get out of the fight. She has 2 dashes, she can blink, she has a lot of different options, whereas Bakasura just has a leap. Other than that, he can't really get out, and he just struggled with that. I think that was the biggest reason why he was out of the meta for a long time. And now they've changed some items so that basic attack junglers can be a little bit stronger. And again, they just buffed his 2, so that helps a lot. And now I think he has a role, a very specific role in this game, and it allows him to succeed in many, many games. So his role right now is to be a persistent and aggressive early game jungler, to harass the enemy team, to steal their camps, to just run around as quickly as he can, leap around, get some movement speed from his passive. And just steal camps and just get as much XP early as he can. He's really a high harassment god, which I think is such a great role to have as a jungler. The god that I would compare him to in that kind of sense would be Thanatos. So Thanatos is similar, very high aggression, early game aggression god. And the thing about him is he's high risk, high reward. If you don't do well early game with Thanatos, if you don't get like an early kill, or if you're not clearing those camps efficiently, then your late game is going to struggle a little bit. And I think Bakasura is the same, but I think Bakasura can excel at doing that early game damage a lot better than Thanatos because of the buff to this 2 ability. So once again, he can go to the solo lane side and he can just eat the minion right away. So that if you think about it, that's like a 1 second camp clear. Whereas if you're a solo laner and you go to clear your boar camp with the 1 boar on your side, it might take you what, 10 seconds maybe to clear it, or maybe a little bit less than that. So he's saving so much time. He's saving 10 seconds on a camp clear. If he goes to the mid harpies, he can eat one of the mid harpies. That's going to cut the time it takes to get that camp. It's going to cut that in half. So now he can get mid harpies faster, which makes his mid harpy fights even better than it used to be. So now he's probably got the best mid harpy fight in the game as far as a jungler goes, and that's extremely important for getting that early XP, as I said. And he can just get the early camp clear. So it's so underrated, that camp clear, I think, which is why you see those junglers have so much early damage. At least most of them do, because if they don't clear camps well enough, then they're just gonna fall behind because they don't have minion waves to clear. They have to share XP with the mid laner, with the soul laner, with the dual lane. They have to share so much of the minions that they really need the camps to kind of help them out with their experience. And that's why you're going to see Bakasura not only excel early game in the future in the Pro League, but I think also he's going to take that early game aggression, and he's going to take it into the late game, and he's going to be super huge. So that's really what's happening. And to compare it to other parts of the game right now, solo laners are considered to be one of the strongest roles in the game because, warriors in particular, because they have their own board camps, they have mana camps. If they can somehow solo the other person that they're playing against, they can steal their camps, so they're getting a lot of early XP, and so that just gives them a huge advantage to buy more items. And Bakasura is the same way. He can go around, and he's so quick with his passive. And if you don't know about his passive, he gains 10% movement speed per stack whenever he kills an enemy. And it can go up to max 3 stacks, so you can get up to 30% extra movement speed, which makes him just a very quick jungler. There's no speed buff anymore in Smite, so this is basically his own speed buff. He has a speed buff built into his kit, so that's such a strong passive for the early game clear. And again, with his 2 ability, he's just going to be super strong. And I also wanted to talk about his 3 ability, which has true damage. And if you don't know what true damage is, it basically ignores any protections, any resistance to damage, and it just deals the damage. So if he deals 30 damage to someone with physical protections, it does 30 damage. It doesn't matter. And so this is a great counter to mages early game, and it's also a very, very strong counter against the build that mages are using right now, which is the Dynasty Plate Helm, which is giving them that early physical protection. It gives them 30 physical protection. So he deals 30 true damage, so that already cuts off. I'm sorry, he does. He at level 1 he does 10 true damage from it, so he's already taken a third of that protection off with that. And he is also just getting power from his items as well to take down those mages. So again, he's a very good counter to early game mages, to ADCs, stuff like that. And then late game, he's going to have enough power, and especially with the true damage added on with the late game, you get up to 70 true damage in his 5th rank of this ability, that he's going to be able to take down those tanks too, because the tanks are going to have a lot of protections, and you're going to be able to strip them with Bakasura. That's why he's a great tank killer, and you could absolutely do a tank killer build. So that's kind of my overview of Bakasura, where he's at right now. I think he's very, very strong. Don't be surprised if you see him a lot in the future in the Pro League and in ranked scene as well. I think that he will definitely be used a lot, and I've been playing against some Bakasuras and with them on my team, and they usually do pretty well because their early game is just like I said, it's just dominant. He is a hyper anti-carry. He's a hyper early game character. So that's my opinion on Bakasura. And with that, I'm going to do a quick build. Going to go through it very quickly. This is just kind of the build I think works the best with him right now. Since he's, again, I think he's coming back into the meta a little bit. So the first item is going to be the rank 2 throwing dagger of Golden Bow. This will give him, again, more jungle clear, so he can swallow, and then he can also do extra damage with the throwing dagger. And it can also help him clear the wave when he's going to mid and soul lane, stuff like that. So I think this is a good start for him. And then you can go mana, like one mana, 3 health, or 2 mana, 2 health, whatever you want for the potions. And then quickly we'll go through the rest of the build. So for the next item, we'll go into boots. We'll go into warrior Tabi. It's a pretty standard start for him, those boots. And then after that, we're going to go into Ichaival. Ichaival is probably the best curve item, and if you don't know how curve works in builds, it's basically making sure that at each stage of your build, you're getting as much DPS, you're getting as much damage as possible, and it's giving you a good curve. For instance, if you started with boots and then you went straight into Deathbringer, that's not really a good curve. You're kind of like going all in with like this high crit item, and it just doesn't really match the curve of the build. And that's kind of what you want. So if you think about the cost of this item, it's very cheap, and it also gives you that 30% attack speed and that early penetration as well. So not only will it be doing the true damage, but he'll also have the penetration early as well. So he's, again, you're focusing on that early game with this item, and I think that's why it's very strong on him. Then after that, you'll go into, or at least I go into, Hastened Fatalis. This will just give him some more movement speed. So again, this kind of works off his passive. If he gets those stacks, 30% movement speed, plus this is 40%. Then he also gets the debuff from his attack speed. So he's going to be just a very quick nuisance. He's going to be a nuisance, and I think this item is also helpful for when he is using his ultimate. If he's able to kind of again run around and confuse the enemy while he's using his ultimate, he's going to just confirm more of his basic attacks. So I think that's why I think that's a very good item for him. Then Sais, this is a standard item on so many different gods. Many junglers, many ADCs are using Sais, so I think that is a very good item to have in this build. And then, again, we're going with the curve. We're going into some heavy power at the end, and this is going to just do more penetration. So, again, you're going to be able to take the tanks down with the true damage and the Sais and the Titan's Bane. It's going to create a lot of issues for the gods you're playing against. And then the final one is going to be Stone Cutting Sword. This is one of the newer items that came out in Season 3 that is just very, very strongly used for basic attack junglers, and this is an item that made Arachne a little bit more relevant. Definitely made Kali a lot more relevant because this item allows your basic attacks to decrease physical protections by 10. So again, he is going to be a very high penetration god at the end of the game. If you can get that early game off well, you're going to be just a powerhouse throughout, and you're going to be just a great jungler. So this is the build that I have for him. If you've been starting to play Bakasura, if you played him in the past, if you're a long-time Bakasura player, let me know what you think about him. I definitely think he's going to be, again, on the rise in as far as being used in the Pro League and in other game modes as well in Smite. So let me know what you think. If you agree, if you don't agree, that'd be great. So let me know in the comments. And I thank you very, very much for watching. So have a great day.